finding good models, why it matters.
Models, welcome back to Photography After Hours. So I'd like to introduce everyone. We have Nader here tonight as our special guest. Sprague is off traveling the world somewhere on a cruise in Europe, so boo-hoo for him. He's going to be having way too much fun and taking lots of pictures, so his hell will be when he gets home and has to edit them all. We have Miss Susie Taylor.
Hi there.
And my name is Nick, and this is Photography After Hours. We wanted to let you know we are sponsored by PAC, the Photographers Adventure Club. You can find more info at photoadvclub.com. So we came up with this concept 6 months ago, and we've been working on it ever since about how to find good models. Oh wait, 6 minutes ago, sorry. So we were chatting a little bit on the way out to Vegas about getting some new models in and trying to figure stuff out. So let's start at why would we want to work with models? So what's some reasons why some of our members, some other people out there that are trying to build a portfolio, why do they want to really get in and start working with models?
I would say essentially the best part of working with an experienced model is that you can just be a photographer and they can be a model and you make stuff together instead of you having to guide them along the way while trying to be creative, while trying to get something out of your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're trying to work in the studio and work on and refine your technique or learn your camera a little bit better or learn new equipment a little bit better, it helps to not have to throw in the added factor of working with your relative who's your stand-in model who has no concept what you're going for, right? Someone who has a patience level, things like that, understands what you're doing, and then you can be more. That curve is shortened.
Yeah, I think it takes the element out that you have to really coach them as much that you can focus on your part, like you were saying, and they focus on their part. So I think in that same token, does it also good to say experienced models, not just any model, not just girl that says she's a model that has a bunch of selfies, or guy,
not somebody that's just constantly told how great looking they are. That doesn't make them a model.
There's a huge difference between an experienced model and an amateur model. There's just huge.
Oh yeah. We see it even in our events that we have, here at the studio, that we're actually just, you get someone and it's like, oh, they don't know what they're doing, or they don't know what the key light is. They're looking this way, and it's like, no, the light's over here. They keep telling them over and over. And that for a lot of our events, we're working with people that are just learning, and they need someone that knows their job, so they can not feel intimidated.
That's especially true for the events where we have that are meant to introduce someone to a studio environment, and to have an experienced model that knows how to change poses after each frame and kind of give a different look. And in a way, they're educating the new photographer, somebody who's new to the environment, at the same time.
So wait, you're supposed to move after each shot. You're not supposed to just stand there and stare at the camera.
Just a little bit.
It depends.
Just a little bit.
So there's something that you had popped in the other day, and we were hanging out, and so there was something that you were talking to people about, talking to the model. And I always tell everyone to introduce themselves. Like when you get up there, for photographers, they may not be new photographers, but new to this kind of stuff. They just walk right up and they're like this, and it's like, say hi, introduce yourself, don't just be weird and creepy. And you were saying keep talking to them as well.
It's a terrible habit I see all the time where photographers, they're artists, we're artists, and sometimes there's no people skills.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing when you're shooting with people. That's probably one of the strongest skills you can have. So communication and just talking with them, even if you're just talking about the day, it changes the whole formula for the shoot. You get them comfortable, you can relate to them, you might have a few laughs. Yeah. And all that does is bring energy to the shoot. And when they're energized, their shots are going to come out better. When you're energized, the shots are going to come out better. And so I think it's really important to talk to your model, get to know them, even just a little bit, just be friendly.
Yep.
And that's the best way to create with them.
Yeah, our friend
Mhm.
Michelle Santano spoke for us many times here at PAC, and she works with families, not models, but she's always, she doesn't even stay behind the camera because of that. She puts it on a tripod and will just be talking to them the whole time,
Oh,
so
it's
that
fantastic.
she's built.
Mhm.
She's like, don't worry about this, talk to me,
Yeah, it's
So
paramount to the element of collaboration because, like you said, you're both artists bringing something together to create a work of art, and if you're allowing that wall to stand in between and for it to just kind of be where you're photographing her as if or him as if they're just an object,
Hmm.
that isn't you're just going to be missing this huge element.
Yeah, that's so true.
definitely agree. So, where does someone that's building a portfolio or building a body of work, where do they start to find like a model? So, if you've never hired a model or never traded with a model, where do you go? Where's the first place to go?
Okay.
'Cause there's some places not to go as well.
Yeah, there are definitely tiers, and I think each city or town or state or country really has like different levels of where you can start and like build. If you're looking for just to get started, like and try to keep costs at a very very minimum, you can ask a good looking friend or something and just start there. But once you want to get into models, like start looking at people's portfolios like on Facebook or Instagram and start connecting with them and see if they want to shoot together. From there, I think one of the most powerful things to do is to hire somebody from an agency. Modeling agencies are all over the country, and they've already vetted and found people who are serious about being a model,
Sure.
because that's a career choice for some people. So these people are going to provide you with some experience that another person that you found for free or from like a Facebook group or from like Model Mayhem might not have. That said, there are great people in those
Well, Model
sectors as well.
Mayhem has kind of taken a tank in the last year or two, I found. I've never had a lot of success with it, but it just seems like everyone's a model there lately. And again, I'm not, maybe that's just my experience or maybe just the Phoenix experience. It does change in different areas, but it just seems like when you go there, it's just sketchy lately.
I mean, it's always kind of been hit or miss
Yeah.
in my experience. But I think the biggest thing is like as soon as somebody thinks they're on there, especially as soon as somebody thinks they're a model, they start getting a big head about it.
Yeah.
And that's a huge problem, because if you're an
It
amateur
happens with
model,
photographers too.
that's a thing. So there's this like weird dynamic of, oh, amateur photographer thinks they're hot stuff, amateur model thinks
Yep.
they're hot stuff, and no one's really growing.
Yeah.
No one's really doing anything that's quality.
Yep.
And that's a huge problem. It's an interesting dynamic in our industry.
Yeah.
And we can change that. We tell people like, no, this is like not the way you should do it. You should hire like an amateur photographer, if they want to make a better book, should work with people who are better at modeling.
Yeah.
And grow from that. Amateur models should hire a decent photographer to build their book and
Where
get
a lot
experience.
they're not.
and
They're
build
just
up.
working with amateurs and amateurs, like these trade for groups. It's just like
And there's nothing wrong with trade for it. Like I feel like if you want to trade with somebody and you're going to create something, that's powerful. That's art. That's that's collaboration. That's true collaboration.
Yeah, but a lot of these new in the past 2 years again, since Model Mayhem's kind of dipped, Facebook trade for groups have kind of grown, and it's just like it's just
well,
like
it goes back to the point of quality being that additive piece that you need in order for that to make sense. So if you are going to do trade for, it doesn't add anything to work with someone who's already at your level of accomplishment. You want to try to push the envelope a little bit more, and then that trade for is working for you.
Unless like you guys have lofty goals and you really think you two, like even if you're on par with each other on a professional level, like as far as you've come up the ladder, if you have a goal to create something awesome and you can create something awesome with that person, that's fantastic.
So something else I wanted to add in the area of suggesting how to find the right models, I think that there's a lot of value in references. So getting referrals from other photographers or from models that you've worked with, and knowing a little bit about who you're reaching out to and hiring, that kind of thing too.
Like any industry, it's really important that referrals are a thing we use. Like
most of the models, we see some of the pictures behind us here and stuff, but most of the models that we hire for pack events, I call someone up like Dave Kelly was here today, but I call someone up like that I trust, that won't hire models that are sketchy or give him problems or drama, and be like, hey, or Mike Luna, we've called him and be like, hey, who do you suggest, or talk to you. Like, we try to reach out to people that that work with models a lot more than we do, to see what they think, or even run it by them. Hey, I'm going to hire this person. What do you think? Stay away. They're drama. They have lots of problems, and you don't want to bring that into your shoot either, where they're here talking about oh, my baby daddy and this and that, and everything's just
lots
like
of,
chaos.
Yeah, you don't want to have to deal with a lot of baggage along with it, but. Even aside from that, reliability in terms of punctuality, being there at the time and on the day and prepared and that kind of stuff is very important for us when we do events.
We have a lot of people depending on it.
Right. So it is still very important if you're doing a private model shoot where it's just one photographer hiring the model. But I think there's a lot of value in that reference when you know that the person is reliable in respect of,
it's like a big thing, reliability. It's
their preparedness, things like that.
Yeah, and like aside from just preparedness and like professionalism, I think that's general professionalism.
Yeah. Taking yourself seriously. Yeah,
taking
yourself
seriously.
They just get cards or like, I'm a model, and then they just, same photographers do the same thing. I'm a photographer, and then it's like they don't follow through with the business side of it, or being professional, being on time, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and if going on with that, like really look at a model's book, and if they don't have a book, that's really unfortunate, but look at their profiles.
Yeah.
Because a model who is being serious about being a model should take care of their skin. Should, if they're a lingerie model, take care of their body.
Yeah.
Like it's real simple stuff. Like people tend to forget about it sometimes, but it's their job to take care of themselves.
That's
for
their
whatever medium they're trying to go for as a model.
Yeah. Oh, with anyone, like even musicians talk about that. Like, this is my instrument. Like singers and stuff, that they work out and keep their body up because they have to go out there and perform for hours on a stage. Same thing with a model. Even more so if they're going to be lingerie or something. You want them to look good in lingerie.
We touched upon one thing. We talked about the business-like behavior and things like that from the model standpoint. But I think the same goes from the photographer standpoint. And and this is a whole other episode or topic on itself, but when you're hiring a model and they are not necessarily fully clothed in a snowsuit or something like that, when they're somewhat scantily clad, it is really absolutely imperative to stay completely businesslike and remember that is
And you should stay dressed too.
Absolutely. I try to. Anyway, but I think that some research and that kind of stuff as to what is
well, don't be the creepy photographer.
Yeah.
Don't. It's not.
I love
that's
that
not
meme.
what
We've probably
models
all
are
seen
for.
it. The nude photographer, and it's like you're doing it wrong, and he's in like a thong and has his beer belly hanging out, taking a picture of the model dressed.
Yeah.
Don't be the creepy photographer, or GWC as they call it too.
Yeah, that's not why we're hiring models. So I just want to make that point.
Next it just says what on my board. I don't know what that means. So can you elaborate?
Well,
what?
we had been talking about what to look for.
Okay.
So
I kind of
skills
so we're good on that.
Right. They should understand how light enhances their features.
Yeah.
And understand what the key light is and the fill light and the hair light and the basics.
They should know their bodies.
Sure. Yeah.
So how do we reach out and not come across, whether we're a creepy photographer or not? How do you reach out to a model and not sound creepy? Because I've had different people that will just want to work with you right away, and again, they're looking at references sometimes too, and be like, hey, who's this photographer? Have you worked with them? So how do you not get that GWC creepy kind of feel when you're contacting like a model? Like when you send an email or a Facebook message out, what do you normally start with?
I think the biggest thing is, again, back to professionalism, and talk to them like it's a job opportunity. So you wouldn't just throw an email together that's not professional in tone, and doesn't describe what you actually want to do to somebody in another industry. So the best thing to do, I think, would be to introduce yourself, say what you want to do with them, let them know if like you're looking to just collaborate or
Hold on. Let's just start the sentence over.
Yeah.
See, told you.
See if you're looking
Yeah. Let them know if you're. Should I start over that whole
Sure.
part?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. So when you're starting off an email, I think you should start off by introducing yourself. Then go into like what you want to do. Then if you want to collaborate, if you have a budget for them, and then send them a link to your work. Like send them a link to like, this is what I can do. This is what I've already done, and this is this is my vision. If you've already thought of it even further and thought about how you want to photograph them, if you made a Pinterest board or something, send that to them too, and be like, this is what I want to create with you.
Like a vision of the
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
And current work too. You don't be like, hey, this is what I did 10 years ago, or this,
No, like that stuff shouldn't even be on your website.
Yeah. But
No
some
doubt.
people kind of live off of the past, so.
So on that same topic then about connecting and talking about hiring them, how do you approach the subject normally in terms of compensation? So how do you address that? Do you normally ask what their regular rate is? Do you propose one? And by what measure do you determine whether or not their rate is too high or too low?
Obviously sometimes they post their rates and it's easy enough to like go look at them. But even still, I think if you're coming to them, like if I go to any sort of client and or a client comes to me and they ask me to photograph for them, I ask them what their budget is. So if you have a budget that you're willing to work with, obviously if you have $1,000 and you're like, I need you for an hour, my budget's $1,000, is that going to work?
They're going to go, perfect, my rate is $1,000 an hour.
That's really
serendipitous.
That's really silly. So maybe the best way to go about it, if you're not going through an agency, if you're going direct, is to ask them what the rates are for the project you're working on. Like say you want to pay them, say you want to compensate them, and then go from there. And then if they come back and they say their rates are just over your budget, you're like, ooh, this is my actual budget. This is how far I can go. And just be real with people. Like people forget that you can. This is an industry.
Is there a way we can work something out? Is it like
exactly?
So I had a model and photographer in here today, and they were asking me for some ideas on payment because they've worked with a bunch of different levels of people, and I think it goes into what the project is too. If you're shooting a commercial project where there's a huge budget and it's a for paid kind of gig, they're going to get paid more than just to come here and practice lighting with like a PAC member.
Sure.
Where the PAC member is not going to have a big budget to go practice on a Monday night,
Yeah,
so
that's a really good
it's
point.
definitely important to let them know you're shooting for your personal book versus a commercial shoot. Because usage is a huge thing models use to increase their rates.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Sure.
If you're going to be on a billboard,
right,
like
absolutely.
that's usage. Like you're using my image for a big project. I should get paid some of that marketing money.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, and then that brings us back to, and we have other episodes that we've touched upon this, and there are other resources, but talking about the model release, making sure that you always have a model release that protects you as well as the model, that you both read to, agree with, and sign that model release before the work. And
every shoot.
Yep.
Every time. And there are apps that you can use on your phone even for some of that.
Yeah, we did a whole episode on apps.
It's good to have one prepared in advance and printed hard copy, that kind of thing.
Cool. Well, awesome. Thank you, guys. And this was Photography After Hours. So if you have more questions, put them down in the comments there, and subscribe wherever the subscribe button is. I think it's down here. So subscribe and put all your questions in the comments. We'll try to answer them throughout the coming weeks and everything. And go hire models and practice. Keep shooting and get better and practice and shoot more and more and more. So thank you again and have a good evening.